President Trump not giving up the fight to repeal and replace Obamacare. Instead, he has a path forward, inviting all GOP senators to lunch today to work on a brand new plan. One of those senators is Kansas GOP Senator Jerry Moran. He joins us right now, but what we can expect. And, Senator, I got to start with you and Senator Mike Lee really made news as the president was talking about a strategy in the hopes to pass the replacement for Obamacare. At the White House, word came that you are out. You weren't going to vote for this bill, therefore crushing it. Who did you communicate with, and did you realize that this would embarrass the president?
We've had a number of conversations with the White House, including the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price, but also informed the White House lead shop and the whip's office in the United States Senate of what was going to transpire that evening. So my view is that it was an opportunity to express what I had concluded, which was this bill is inadequate in its repeal of the Affordable Care Act. This bill is inadequate in the replacement of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and it would not get my vote in the end. Therefore, people needed to know that up front so that we could move in a different direction than where we were going.
True. However, you know the limitations because you only had 52 votes and couldn't get the 60. And you know the limitations because of the parliamentary procedures that were in. Do you feel as though leadership wasn't listening to you? Or do you feel as though you offered things and it didn't even matter?
It's very difficult to find the solution. One thing that can happen in these negotiations trying to get 51 votes is it begins to shift to not what is in the bill, but how to win a senator's vote. And that generally involves money. That's not a good way for us to develop health care policy. How to improve the chances that more Americans have access to affordable health care is not to get in the position in which senators are being, what does it take in the sense of what more money can we provide to get your vote? What we need to do is have a policy that is conservative and innovative, right, that takes the points of view of a lot of folks into account, and not only repeal the Affordable Care Act in a more full way, but to replace it with something that will lower premiums. Because my concern is if we don't get both right, then Republicans have their stamp of approval on a lot of involvement in health care, 1/6 of the U.S. economy.
I hear you,
and
Senator.
Americans are still mad that nothing happened to help them.
Right.
It lends itself toward moving. Republican plan didn't work. Democrat plan didn't work. Let's try universal care, which I think is the terrible mistake.
Right. They're not happy right now, I'll tell you that. And now there's going to be a repeal opportunity, a flat repeal, which is going to take, will you vote for repeal?
I will.
Do you think there'll be enough votes? What do you say to the 4 at least that won't?
Well, I mean, each senator will need to make up their own minds, obviously. But I made a commitment to Kansans. I voted for repeal before. And I believe it puts us in a position in which we would have leverage with Democrats as we try to craft what the replacement is. All 100 senators following expert testimony and congressional hearings puts us in a better place to get a follow-up to the repeal, which would be a good replacement.
Senator, you've been in an eye of the storm, and thanks so much for getting up with us and explaining what was behind your decision and your future decision. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the conversation.
You got it. More Fox and Friends. We talk OJ next.
Here's some quick headlines for you. A federal judge refusing to drop an obstruction charge for the widow of the Pulse nightclub shooter. Noor Salman is accused of helping Omar Mateen plan the mass shooting last year that killed 49 people. Her trial is set for March. And a prison experiment to rehabilitate wannabe terrorists is proving to be a major failure. And now we know how much it's costing you, the taxpayer. Over $200,000 of your hard-earned cash was used to help Abdullahi Youssef skip prison in Minnesota. He was sentenced in November for trying to join ISIS, but instead of jail, he was put in a de-radicalization program, which failed after just 2 months when he was caught watching an ISIS documentary. Steve?
Thanks, Ainsley. O.J. Simpson could soon be a free man. He is eligible for parole as early as tomorrow following that 2008 conviction, which included charges of robbery and kidnapping. So what's going to happen? Let's talk to Fox News legal analyst and the host of The Property Man, Bob Maskey, who covered the trial from inside the Vegas courtroom. Bob, the cover of the New York Daily News today, parole hearing of the century. We're talking about tomorrow. What's going to happen?
Well, the hearing's going to take place at 10 o'clock Pacific time. Jessica Rosenthal, who's the Fox News Channel radio correspondent, interviewed Tom Scotto, who is O.J.'s best friend. He's going to be there along with O.J.'s daughter and sister. Tom was the one who O.J. was in the wedding, and luckily for him, Steve, he didn't go to the Palace Station that day, or he'd probably been this bunch of guys. And he said if O.J. gets out, he's going to lay low, no reality shows. He wants to live his life out. Tomorrow, these parole hearing commissioners will hear what they need to hear and make a decision.
Sure. I know Fred Goldman, the father of Ron Goldman, said keep him locked up. But then one of the victims for this particular crime, a fellow by the name of Bruce Fromong, he said let him out.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think the general consensus is that, you know, this is an overcharged type of conviction and sentence, that the white elephant in the room is what happened in '94. But honestly, these parole commissioners, Steve, they're bound by the facts of this case. They're bound by what happened. Obviously, they went into the Palace Station to get his own property, which was a stupid thing to do. And I think even the district attorney in Las Vegas, Steve Wolfson, whose wife is Judge Glass, who ultimately sentenced O.J., said he probably should get out, as well as David Roger, who in fact prosecuted him, said he probably will get out.
Sure. Now, for folks who were not paying close attention, some people might think, well, now he's in prison for the murder of his wife and Ron Goldman, right? No,
but she's not.
He was found innocent of those charges. However, years later, then there was this thing in Vegas, robbery, kidnapping, all that stuff. He was sentenced to 33 years. But, Bob, you were in the courtroom. Yes. 33 years seems like a big stretch of time. So some have surmised he got that much time because the people in Las Vegas were trying to convict him for the murder that he was found innocent of.
Unspoken type of thought, Steve. I agree with what you're saying. We want to believe, as trial lawyers, civil or criminal trial lawyers and prosecutors, that they weigh the evidence and they make that determination. Will anybody ever admit to that? No. Judge Glass, at the time of sentencing, actually made a comment that she wants to make it clear that the sentence she's going to give is a sentence that has nothing to do with the past, but rather based on the facts. Do I think that he went away too long for this crime? Yes, I do. But the bottom line is the fact he has his chance tomorrow. And these commissioners have to make a decision. And I think most people feel that he's going to walk. If he does, he'll get out in October. And most say move back to Florida.
And you know what? There's a possibility, some are talking, he could wind up with a reality show, and everybody would watch that. I know you would. I would.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Bob, thank you very much. We'll be watching out in Vegas tomorrow. Thank you, sir. All right. First up, he admitted lying about his military service.
On a few occasions, I have misspoken about my service, and I regret that, and I take full responsibility.
Okay, well now Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal wants $500 million in funding to care for wounded Ukrainian soldiers. What about our troops? Former Navy SEAL Carl Higby's got a reaction, and he's coming up. Plus, her father, John Huntsman, will be nominated by the president as ambassador to Russia. Abby Huntsman is here to talk about her dad's new job. Straight ahead on Fox and Friends. How are
backyard party. They said I was signing books, and they said, "Do you want to come over? Montgomery Gentry's playing in my backyard," and he was.
Really?
Yeah.
In your neighborhood?
Must have been a heck of a backyard.
It was big.
Hey, look who's here. She's on our backyard on the far right part of the couch right now, Abby Huntsman. Abby, congratulations. Your father, it has been announced, is going to be the next ambassador to the country of Russia.
I know. Not an easy task at all by any means.
Do we say Russia or Russia?
Yeah, Russia. So he still has to get through the Senate confirmation. But look, I mean, this is a really exciting time for this country because you guys all know my dad. He's someone that loves this country. And he said from the moment he proposed to my mom, I hope you're ready for an exciting ride, because that was his goal. He said, I want to give back to this nation. And I think I went to 4 different high schools. I mean, we moved around so much. This is just part of our life.
Now, did you go to school when he was an ambassador to China? Did you go to school there?
I went to school in Singapore. He was ambassador there, and then I worked in Beijing when he was ambassador to China. Actually, he will be the first, if confirmed, the first ambassador to both China and to Russia, which is quite fascinating. But you know, he's someone that has served now under 5 different presidents from both parties, and he's passed that down to us. He said to my brothers who are both in the Navy, he said, you never ask who you're serving, you stand up and you do it.
Sure.
You know, I love your family's story, because your grandfather, he is a self-made man, and now he's built this cancer hospital that you were highlighting last week. Amazing what he's doing in saving lives and changing lives. And then your father was governor of Utah. Now he's been an ambassador how many times?
Yeah.
How many countries?
Three times, yeah.
This will be his third. And now look at you. You're hosting Fox and Friends on the weekend. I mean,
you know,
though,
it is. I was talking to my dad last night on the phone about it. He said, you know, make sure you highlight all the people that are serving this country around the world that many times have to leave their family. They're not easy jobs. They never get recognized. I mean, the media today is so focused on gossip
and Washington and
chaos and many things that aren't even true anymore. We don't actually focus on the people that are out there doing some good things.
People point to General Kelly with Homeland Security Secretary, and they say, what a perfect spot. And they go, Secretary of Defense Mattis, my goodness, so how great. Even critics and Senator Schumer's of the world. But I actually believe your father belongs up there. He's in the most consequential spot, maybe outside our borders, because of what's going on with Russia, because of even the furor today about Vladimir Putin. Your dad's in place right now. He'd be dealing with this, correct?
Yeah, and he has such a deep understanding of policy. You think about serving in China. I mean, there are a lot of similarities there. And I think that's what we should focus on. I mean, I do have to point out, it is frustrating when you look at social media and just the lack of respect. So many people have been supportive, but on the other side, you have a lot of people that say, how can he serve this president? And I went to bed last night thinking, what are we turning into? What kind of country do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a place where good people that are qualified to serve raise their hand and say, please let me step in and help? Or do we want to live in a country where people are behind their computers criticizing us for whatever that is?
They'll do that. They'll do that.
Absolutely. Well, we live in a country where perhaps the next ambassador to Russia was featured in Cooking with Friends.
He was. I will say, though, it is a sacrifice. I mean, I get emotional about it because my family's going to move to Moscow. My parents, my little sisters. I'm going to have a baby in a few months. You know, they'll be over there through a lot of that time. But it's a sacrifice that's worth doing.
Thankfully, Skype can bring you right face to face.
If it's working.
And he's already been through ambassador school. Don't they put you in State Department school?
He's been through ambassadorial school. So next he'll go through the confirmation. So that'll be fascinating to watch because I'm sure they'll have some fun with that. Yeah, a lot of questions.
Well, he has a lot of experience. He'll do just fine.
All right,
Thanks,
Abby.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
And he'll be there for the World Cup.
And you might too, Brian, right?
That'll be great. Moscow.
All right, it is 24 minutes now before the top of the hour, and Jillian has what's happening now.
And not that it's the same, Abby, but you have your family here.
I do. I have you guys. I'm so lucky for that.
Let's start with this right now. Later today, President Trump's Voter Fraud Commission will hold its first public meeting. The bipartisan panel, led by Vice President Mike Pence, is under fire after most states at least partially refused to hand over voting data. Chris Kobach, the vice chair of the Presidential Commission on Election Integrity, joined us earlier. Take a listen.
We're studying the issue and putting the facts on the table and letting the American people see those facts. So my first question is, what do they have to hide? Why don't they want a bipartisan commission to look at the facts of how extensive is voter fraud of this type or that type?
Kobach making it clear that all the voting data requested from states is already open to the public. A family of 5 is demanding answers after it claims it was unfairly kicked off a JetBlue flight.
Come with me outside the plane. So we can have a discussion.
I need to get back to New York. I need my kids back home.
We'll
did anything happen? No. Honestly, did anything physical happen? No. This is ridiculous.
Okay.
The New York couple getting into a heated confrontation with an airline employee after another passenger complained about their 1-year-old daughter kicking their seat. JetBlue claims physical threats were made, but the family is denying it. The airline flew them home the next day, but lost their luggage and blacklisted them. 6 Afghan girls denied twice for U.S. visas before President Trump intervened. They are now winners. They won the silver for courageous achievement in First Global, which is an international robotics challenge in D.C. The inventors getting recognized by Ivanka Trump. They will have a tour of the Capitol today before returning home tomorrow. And finally, we have one more story for you. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie just can't catch a break.
And a souvenir for Chris Christie. Are you kidding me? Nice to see him get from the beach here to the ballpark.
Christie catching a foul ball at a Mets game with his bare hands, then giving the ball away to a boy, but he was getting booed by the crowd. And as you heard the announcer even referencing his recent scandal where he lounged on a closed public beach while his state's government was shut down. But Brian, you say this is, this happens all the time where you get booed at Citi Field.
Right. I mean, they like to do that. They like booing everything. They're not happy the Mets aren't winning. They were supposed to win it all.
Welcome to New York.
Right. They'll boo everybody.
He's from New Jersey. Of course they're going to boo him. All right. Thank you very much. News time to weather time. There's JD.
Weather with friends. Yes, let's take a quick look at it. It is warm across the U.S. today. Hot and humid over the central U.S. where we have heat advisories in effect and the potential for showers and thunderstorms for the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes where we could see some large hail damaging with isolated tornadoes. Let's meet some friends. Where are you from?
Savannah, Georgia.
What are you doing with this big old sign?
Well, we're really proud of Lindsay because she's going to be singing at Carnegie Hall tonight.
Yay! Real quick, where are you guys from?
Marshalltown, Iowa.
And?
Charlottesville, Virginia. Charlottesville, Virginia.
What's your favorite morning show?
Boston Red!
Good job, everybody. Wave! We love our friends.
Come on, Brian, wave.
Come on, Brian, wave.
Yeah, wave.
Not going to do it.
Nope, not going to do it.
He's not a waiver.
Not a waiver.
All right, still ahead. You've seen the commercials everywhere.
Then it's time you discovered MyPillow.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping.
And those pillows are made here in the U.S. of A. by American workers. Mike Lindell says President Trump will not let American businesses down. He's going to join us live straight ahead.
And we'll find out how he slept last night. Plus, he first admitted lying about his military service. Now, Senator Richard Blumenthal wants $500 million in funding to care for wounded Ukrainian soldiers. Former Navy SEAL Carl Higbee, not Ukrainian, joins us now to talk about that.